What if I told you the first battle ever recorded in history wasn't just a clash of armies, but the origin of the word Armageddon itself? This isn't just a story of swords and chariots. This is the blueprint for every epic war tale you've ever heard. The world's oldest documented battle happened over 3,000 years ago, and its shockwaves echo even within the Bible. Long before Revelation imagined a final showdown between good and evil, there was Megiddo, a hilltop fortress in ancient Canaan, perched at the crossroad of empires. Fought over again and again, Megiddo was already soaked in blood when in 1457 BCE it became the stage for something new. The first battle in history ever recorded, with strategic detail, military planning, and dramatic stakes. And at the centre of it all, a young and ambitious pharaoh, Thutmose III. But how does a teenage prince go from the palace halls of Egypt to the blood-soaked fields of Megiddo? When Pharaoh Hatshepsut died around 458 BCE, it marked more than the end of her brilliant reign. For nearly 2 decades, she had ruled Egypt with wisdom and strength, expanding trade, securing borders, and keeping her vassals in Canaan and Syria obedient. But her death triggered a power vacuum. Across the empire, subject kings saw their chance, and in Canaan and Syria, a coalition of rebellious rulers led by King of Megiddo and Kadesh rose up to shake off Egyptian control. They believed that Thutmose III, newly in power and still unproven, was just a pharaoh, a transitional figure they could ignore. But they were wrong. Thutmose responded with decisive speed. He marched his army over 150 miles in just 10 days, from Thebes to Yahan, near the strategic town of Aruna. There, the road to Megiddo split into 3 paths. 2 were wide and safe, and 1 was narrow, risky, and completely unexpected. His generals warned him. The narrow mountain pass was vulnerable to ambush, but Thutmose stood firm. If we avoid it, he said, they will say I was afraid. So the decision was made. The Egyptians dismantled their chariots and led their horses single file and took the Aruna Pass, a bold move that could have led to disaster. But on the other side, no ambush awaited them, only opportunity. Enjoying this deep dive into ancient warfare and strategy? Take a second to subscribe to this little channel and help me grow. Your support honestly means the world to me and helps me bring more of this content towards your screen. And have a conflict that you want covered next? Just drop your suggestion in the comments below. And now back to the battle. The coalition of rebels had miscalculated. They assumed Thutmose would take one of the main roads and concentrate their troops accordingly. But the Egyptians emerged from the Aruna Pass and took the high ground in the Kina Valley, flanking Megiddo from the south and northwest. At dawn, Thutmose launched an assault, leading from the center in a golden chariot. His scribes described him as, like Montu, the god of war, unstoppable in battle. The Canaanite forces panicked. They fled, abandoning chariots, weapons, and even horses were seen scrambling over the city walls. The battle could have ended that day, but Egyptian troops, distracted by loot, failed to pursue. The moment of greed had cost them severely. Instead of a quick victory, Thutmose now faced a drawn-out siege. He responded methodologically. A moat was dug, and stockade was built. Megiddo was surrounded. No one entered, and no one left. The siege dragged on for over 7 months, until the coalition finally surrendered. But Thutmose didn't burn the city, and he didn't execute its leaders. Instead, he stripped them of power and took their children back to Egypt, not as prisoners, but as royal hostages. These young nobles were educated in Egyptian ways, treated with respect, and later returned home as royal rulers. This use of soft power through integration became a trademark of Thutmose's empire-building strategy. The victory at Megiddo wasn't just a win on the battlefield, it reaffirmed Egyptian dominance in Canaan and discouraged further rebellion, giving Thutmose a launching pad for campaigns into Syria and Mesopotamia. He would go on to defeat the Mitanni, expand Egypt's borders to their greatest extent, and secure his legacy as one of history's greatest military tacticians.